Glad you could join us today on Earthfile. Welcome to the program. I'm Ayola Kasim. Humans have degraded or destroyed roughly 2/3 of the world's original tropical rainforest cover, raising alarm that a key natural buffer against climate change is quickly vanishing. The forest loss is also a major contributor of climate warming emissions, with the dense tropical forest vegetation representing the largest living reservoir of carbon. Logging and land conversion, mainly for agriculture, have wiped out 34% of the world's original old-growth tropical rainforest and degraded another 30%, leaving them more vulnerable to fire and future destruction. We'll look at how this is impacting lives, but we start with what some are doing to reverse this trend. Do stay with us. Yakuba Sawadago is known as the man who stopped the desert. It is also said that he brought life back to the arid lands of Waiguria in northern Burkina Faso. His accomplishments earned him the Champions of the Earth 2020 award from the United Nations Environment Programme, which says Yakuba's vision, innovation, and determination succeeded in reversing the desertification process that was decimating his agricultural community. Yakuba says it is about planting enough trees to create shade and bring down the heat to help other plants grow.
There is no tree that I can't grow here today. I'm very happy to receive this award. I was simply guided by the will that I had.
In the 1980s, people in the semi-rural city of Waiguia, a city of more than 70,000 people, started feeling the effect of climate change, rising temperatures, and a drop in rainfall. Yakuba said the desert spread and drought led to famine in the north of the country and the neighboring Mali.
This tree that I have just planted will produce a lot of umbrage. It will also bear fruit which will benefit people and animals. It is a really good tree.
Subsistence farmers in the Sahel region depend on rain-fed agriculture, and as the rains lessened and became more erratic, crops started to fail and animals and trees died. Rather than flee the region like other farmers, Yakuba decided to see if he could improve on the local Zai technique of planting widely used by thousands of farmers in the region for this type of dry, hardened earth. Traditionally, farmers start working the land during the rainy season when they plant a seed in a hole dug in the degraded earth. Yakuba believed it would work better if the land was prepared well before the wet season, so he dug wider and deeper holes and filled them with natural organic compost. He also surrounded the planting area with rocks so that when the rain starts, the water is directed towards the seeds and none of the moisture is lost.
The forest you see here today was a real desert before. There was no umbrage or shadow from a single tree right here. At the beginning, our harvest was not good at all. But since we used Zai, we can grow all sorts of different types of agricultural culture at the village. That applies to the trees.
His son, Lukman, said another key ingredient of the success of this method was termites. Termites build a network of underground tunnels around the plant that act as water canals and irrigate the shoots. And so once the rains arrive, Yakuba is ready to plant the seed in naturally fertilized well-drained holes. UNEP says although it is a labor-intensive technique, it did increase production by 100% to 150% for the smallholder farmers.
We dig, we put in the seeds, and then we add organic material and dead leaves. When it rains, it's going to attract termites that dig holes. And even if the rain is not plentiful, the water will seep in, and the seeds or animals will benefit.
Yakuba applied the same technique to plant trees, which he says are crucial to reducing the effect of climate change and which he sees as the source of most life. Today, the 70-year-old walks around his 40-hectare forest, containing more than 60 species of bushes and trees, as well as medicinal herbs that he dispenses to the local community. Medicine is hard to access in this region, and carefully selected herbs can help alleviate many illnesses.
It is my love for trees that pushed me to invest in this forest, because I know that trees can bring so much to the life of man. Trees strengthen the beauty of life.
The Zai technique is also used to plant trees for the Great Green Wall project. Yakuba says he never stops improving on the technique by closely observing the results of the planting to see if he can make it better and tweaking the planting method each year. He has taught the improved technique to farmers in the region and to his sons. Lukman says he was taught forest management for 2 years at the National School of Water and Forest and created a nursery when he came back in 2017, focusing on endangered species. He said he produced 45 different species in his first year. UNEP says Yakuba is an inspiration to all who want to take affirmative action to overcome the devastating effect of climate change and help save the environment. He's a model of survival in a community of farmers who, 40 years ago, became climate refugees. Yakuba does not believe he alone can save the environment and knows farmers are still facing the hardship of rising temperatures and an increasingly unforgiving arid land. And by championing the earth and teaching others, he has shown it is possible to begin to repair the planet and avoid forced migration. And many more are praising Yakuba's work, as climate change has indeed multiplied new and unprecedented forms of natural disasters. They are heavily felt in the agricultural industry and in turn have displaced many. The Food and Agriculture Organization says at no other point in history have agri-food systems faced more hazards such as mega fires, extreme weather, unusually large desert locust swarms, an emerging biological threat as during the past year of the COVID-19 pandemic, nor have they been seen at such frequency, intensity and complexity. These disasters devastate agricultural livelihoods, inflicting cascading negative economic consequences from households to national levels that could potentially endure for generations. According to the Food and Agriculture Organization, disasters happen 3 times more often today than in the 1970s and 1980s.
The major issues that came up of the report, first is the importance of the effects on agriculture of disasters. In the overall, we are talking of a 26% of damage is borne by the agricultural sector as a share of the total damage and loss in all sectors between 2008 and 2018. And if we just focus on the loss of agriculture relative to the share of total damage in agriculture, industry, tourism, and commerce is 63% in agriculture.
The least developed and low to medium income countries have fared worst of all. From 2008 to 2018, natural disasters have cost the agricultural sectors of developing economies more than $108 billion in damaged crop and livestock production. Over the same period, Asia was the most hard-hit region with overall economic losses of $49 billion, followed by Africa at $30 billion and Latin America and the Caribbean at $29 billion. Drought is identified as the single greatest culprit of agricultural production loss, followed by floods, storms, pests and diseases, and wildfires. Failed rains caused a 34% loss of crop and livestock production, compared to a 9% output decline from biological disasters in the period.
We try to understand which are the major type of shocks that create the major losses. We have found that drought tends out to be the most destructive force for agriculture. drought causes an estimate of 37 billion losses in crop and livestock production in 2008 and between 2008 and 2018 period in the least developed countries and in the low middle income countries, or 34% of the total estimated loss in agriculture. Floods and storms are the next more relevant cause of loss in agriculture. And in Africa, crop and livestock loss saw peaks in 2011, 2012, 2015, and 2017, mostly driven by recurring drought episodes in the Sahel and the Horn regions, and by both drought and floods in the southern Africa in 2015.
Today, experts say effort must be made to strengthen food systems. This refers to the constellation of activities involved in producing, processing, transporting, and consuming food. But too many of the world's food systems are fragile, unexamined, and vulnerable to collapse. As millions of people around the globe have experienced firsthand during the COVID-19 crisis, scientists agree that transforming our food systems is among the most powerful ways to change course and make progress towards all 17 Sustainable Development Goals.
We need food systems in which healthy foods and nutrition services are affordable and within reach of every child, every young person, and every family, no matter who they are or where they live.
Adaptation to climate change, particularly for small-scale producers that comprise the majority of farmers around the world, will be necessary to efforts to eradicate poverty and hunger. Without adaptation, researchers now estimate that climate change could depress growth in global crop yields by 5 to 30% by 2050. The 500 million small farms around the world will be most affected. Moreover, farmers and other rural people constitute a significant portion of the 100 million people within developing countries that climate change could push below the poverty line by 2030. Already there are fears this may be happening faster than expected. East African nations have been battling with swarms of desert locusts since the beginning of 2020. During quiet periods, known as recessions, desert locusts are usually restricted to the semi-arid and arid deserts of Africa. However, the last 5 years have been hotter than any other since the Industrial Revolution and since 2009. In Takana County, people's livestock are competing for pasture with billions of hungry hoppers. As a result, goats are not producing enough milk to feed their families. Anna Amurai, a pastoralist, says she used to get 8 jugs of goat milk, but now only gets 1 from her goats.
We now collect the milk for several days. Then we add water so that we can make enough tea for the children.
Pastoralists are worried that there won't be enough pasture for their livestock as the dry season is approaching. Moses Areng is a pastor and member of Logon Livestock Association.
I don't know why the desert locusts came. Only God knows. If they could talk, they would tell us that they are in Turkana because they were born here, with nowhere to go, meaning they will continue to live and breed here.
Food experts have said at this challenging time, there is a need not to forget how important the world's 500 million small-scale farms are for building global peace and food security. The Food Systems Summit, they say, will be an opportunity to lay the foundations for the sustainable food systems of the future, as the peace and prosperity of future generations depend on it. What can stop wandering elephant, illegal logging, and protect sources of water? Kenyan environmental group Rhino Ark Trust says electric fences, lots of them. The trust has put up fences around 2 key areas where rainfall feeds Kenya's rivers. It is adding more fencing around a third area in Mount Kenya, where 250 kilometers out of a planned 450 kilometers has been constructed. A fence is already encircling the sprawling canopy of the Eburu forest in Kenya's Rift Valley. The 43-kilometer-long fence, set up in 2014, cut rampant illegal logging and charcoal burning to almost nothing, says Joseph Motongo, the fence community manager at Rhino Ark Trust, a private conservation group that financed the fence.
This fence, the Eburu fence, which we are working on, it's really important because it's solving the conflict between the human and wildlife.
Alarms on the fence alert rangers to any breach. Rhino Ark Trust estimates that its fences protect 570,000 hectares of prime mountain forest that are Kenya's key rain catchment areas.
It's completely done. We did about 43.3 kilometers, and it's done now. And now the work we are doing now is to maintain now the fence itself, and also to do the sensitization to the community so that they can be able to own it.
Kenya aims to increase its forest cover to 10% of its land mass by 2022, attaining the standard set by the United Nations from about 7% in 2015. Data from the Ministry of Environment shows. Private conservation groups are vital help, and fencing is being used more often after the success of the Eburu project. The fences help protect wildlife from hunting and trees from being chopped down, but they do not cut off local communities. Rhino Ark encourages the Ogiek community in Eburu to harvest honey and wild fruits.
This was our only source of livelihood. We were greatly dependent on honey, meat, and wild fruit. We took care of the wild animals just as the Maasai take care of their cattle, or the way other communities tend to their animals or crops. So we lived off the honey and bushmeat, and lived here with the knowledge that this was like our farm.
Local farmers who had planted potatoes in the Eburu forest have been resettled in land adjacent to the forest, where they grow fruits like tree tomatoes.
We now don't depend on seasons. This time of the year, you would not see anything green here. The ground will be so parched. That is one of the biggest changes that I can attest to. You can now see it's green everywhere, meaning the environment has really changed.
Farmers believe the trees will help ensure the rain.
I normally feel so happy to see such a noble forest being spared for the animals and for environment. So, and I'm quite happy to see such an electric fence set up to protect these animals from going outside to the community, where the community will get mad when they lay their crops. Rain pattern increased after setting up this fence, because there was no more illegal activities, no more charcoal burning, no more illegal logging, and so on.
Efforts like these are encouraged by conservationists who are looking for more people to be involved in forest protection efforts around the world, and especially in Africa, where elephants living in the forests and savannas are increasingly threatened with extinction. New assessment by the International Union for Conservation of Nature underscore the persistent pressures faced by the two species of elephants in Africa due to poaching for ivory and human encroachment. The Swiss-based body's latest survey said the savanna elephant is endangered and the much smaller, lighter forest elephant is critically endangered, its highest category before extinction in the wild.
Now, these results are due to decline in numbers that have been observed over several decades, with forest elephant declining by 86% over a period of 31 years, and savanna elephants declining by 60% over a period of 50 years. Main reasons being poaching for ivory and loss of habitat.
Previously, the IUCN had treated both elephants together, which it considers as vulnerable, but opted to separate them following genetic evidence that they are different species. Ben Okita says that the populations of Africa's savanna elephant found in a variety of habitat had decreased by at least 60% over the last 50 years, while the number of forest elephants found mostly in Central Africa had fallen by 86% over 31 years. Combined, around 415,000 elephants remain.
Results are worrying. They're worrying because when you have animals listed on the red list and they keep on going down towards extinction, then it is a worry. Because the way the red list is categorized, when you move from critically endangered, you go to extinct in the wild.
Despite the overall decline, some populations of forest elephants are rebounding due to successful conservation measures, such as those taken by Gabon and Republic of Congo. Ben Okita also raised concern about loss of habitat, which is becoming an increasing threat for elephants.
There is a rapid decline. Yeah, and this rapid decline, if the causes of that decline are not checked, yeah, or are not stopped or are not reduced significantly, then based on those numbers that we have seen, that kind of decline, we may be in trouble sooner than later.
IUCN's latest assessment, the first of 3 annual updates, assessed 134,425 species of plants, fungi and animals, of which more than a quarter are threatened with extinction.
With regards to the land issues, land degradation, habitat loss, those ones are things that need more focus because it's a silent killer. It happens in a way that people don't realize. So there's lots that you lose by losing elephants. And people don't realize it, but you don't realize what you have until it's gone. And you don't want to get there. Yeah, we don't want to get there at all. So that's why in this reassessment that we have just done, we want to ensure that the global community is aware that this iconic species that they're so connected with, across the world, yeah, is in grave danger, and that there is need to reverse the gear.
The global forest area continues to decrease, and the world has lost 178 million hectares. Since 1990, an estimated 420 million hectares of forest has been lost worldwide through deforestation and conversion of forests to other land use, such as agriculture.
The rate of deforestation has declined substantially and is now down to 10 million hectares per year from the 16 million hectares per year in the 1990s. However, in this case too, the rate of decline is decelerating. So while it is good to see both net forest area loss and deforestation slowing, we need to worry that the pace of that decline is easing off. Urgent action is needed to strengthen the positive trends of reduced forest loss and deforestation in order to meet the objective of halting deforestation under Sustainable Development Goal 15, life on land.
Over 80% of the world's terrestrial biodiversity can be found in forests, from pine trees in the boreal north to the rainforests in the tropics. The degradation and loss of forests threaten the survival of many species and reduce the ability of forests to provide essential services such as clean air and water, healthy soils for agriculture and climate regulation, as well as protect the transmission of diseases from animals to humans. The COVID-19 pandemic disrupted lives and livelihoods around the world, and the global economy contracted by around 3.5% in 2020. Despite the economic downturn, the loss of primary tropical forests ticked up by 12% compared to 2019, continuing an upward trend. Here in Nigeria, we have only 5 to 6% of forests left, and that means all the forests and wildlife will be completely lost unless something is done very soon. That's our program for the week. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week.